Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us for our Arroz Con Pollo live stream tonight. I'm really excited to have everybody. I'm really excited to learn how to make this recipe as well. If during the live stream you have any questions, you can type them into the Q&A box and I'll be able to see those pop up. And I will be sending a class survey out probably sometime tomorrow morning, seeing what you thought about the class, what other options for live stream classes you might be interested in. If you're joining us a little bit late, down at the bottom, you can hit the little button that says live down there where the play and pause button is, just so you can catch up, because if you join late, it will start you at the very beginning. And if you want to catch up to where we are live, you can hit that little live button down there by the timestamp and it'll jump you forward to where we are. Without further ado, I'll turn things over to Chef Jason. But again, if you have questions, just go ahead and type them in the chat and I will feed those to him during the course of the live stream. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Chef Jason. I'm here tonight. We're going to do Arroz Con Pollo. We're going to do it's basically a Spanish-style chicken and rice, and it's seasoned with saffron. That's actually the major difference between the Spanish chicken and rice and the Mexican chicken and rice. One of them, the Spanish chicken and rice, is usually generally colored and seasoned with saffron, and the Mexican chicken and rice is generally seasoned with cumin. Always going to have some sort of meat, veggies, and stuff like that in the rice. It's a really nice, comforting one-pot meal that seems a little more elevated than it is, and is a nice breakup from your everyday weekday routine. So with that being said, we'll get right into cooking the recipe. One thing I always recommend to everybody when I teach these classes is to take the recipe and make sure you read it all the way through first. The reason that we do that is because who knows, you could get to a step that you were supposed to weigh something or measure something or chop something, and then you got to back up and go through it and scramble and rearrange. So read through your steps first. You kind of know what you're getting into, what prep needs to be done beforehand, and possibly, not this one today, but every once in a while you may come across a recipe that you may want to do something before the recipe tells you to do it. So again, it's just a good thing to do is to read through the recipe before you get started. So without much else, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this one. So today I got some chicken thighs that we're going to be using for the chicken. You can mix this, you can do a mixture of breast and thighs. You could do bone-in chicken if you'd like. A lot of times traditionally it is bone-in chicken. I like to use the boneless. I just sink it right back in, pull it out. It's just a nicer eating experience for a quicker meal. The chicken cooks a little quicker too. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and start by dicing our one large onion. So I'm just going to show you guys. I'm sure most people know how to dice an onion, but I always take this little nub off first. Take the other end off. Go ahead and clean that up. I usually split it right down inside. Take the first layer or two off, depending on how coarse it is. A lot of times people say, well, how much do you know how to take off? Well, you just take it off until it's not very coarse. If it's really coarse, you know, you don't want to eat that, and especially you don't want to eat it raw. But you can have a little coarser of the layer of the skin left in if you're going to saute it, because that's just going to break down. But I usually take off one or two layers, and we're just going to quickly dice this guy. It's a medium dice. So coming from the side here, a couple times, and from the top. Like that, and then we're going to come across this way to finish our medium dice. So just like that. We'll do the other one. Go ahead and from the side, a couple times, split it down. All right, and there we got our first dice done, and that's the onion. So you see that's ready to go. Go ahead and throw this in this bowl here. All right, onion's done. Next, we're going to dice up the bell pepper. We have a red bell pepper here. go ahead and take the top off of this guy. We'll take the bottom off of that guy like that. The way I like to cut peppers, like that, I take the top, I take the bottom off, come in from the side here, and then just splay it out and take the ribs out at the same time. So just like that, and now you're ready to go. And we can split this guy. Excuse me, tearing up a little bit from that onion. Split this guy up a little bit, and then we can go ahead and work this into strips. Turn it and turn that into our medium dice there. Go ahead and finish this guy off. And this recipe does call for red pepper. It adds a little more sweetness, not as much of a bite as the green pepper will. So it'll add a little sweetness to it. And it also, with the red, it's gonna bring a little color into it as well. You can go ahead and dice up this top too if you'd like. All right, that's done. Get rid of the. All right, so there's our bell pepper. Now we're gonna go, we got 3 cloves of minced garlic. So take our head of garlic. The best way with the garlic is maybe split this and then rip one of the outside husk off a little, and then you can just kind of pop the top like that, and the cloves will pop right out. These are huge cloves of garlic. So this recipe calls for 4 cloves of garlic minced. But when I get garlic and I see it's this big, I'm probably going to just go ahead with 2 of them. I mean, that's a big piece of garlic. So I just smash it with my knife a little bit. Take the skin off. I'm not worried about smashing it up because, again, we're going to mince this garlic, so they don't have to really be kept beautiful and not cracked up or anything, again, because we're about to mince them up. So for mincing the garlic, take the little bottom off there. Just going to go ahead and run our knife through this a couple times. Put your hand on top like this, keep it out of the way, and just start chopping it up. Make sure you don't forget what's on the knife there. Set that down and just come across. Just run it through a few times. That's good, little minced up garlic. We'll keep this to the side. We're gonna add that after the pepper and onion.
So we had someone ask, and you'll maybe get to this a little later, what do you have against California and bay leaves? What's the difference between California and others?
Well, they have a little bit of a different flavor, and a lot of the some of the recipes and some of the stews and some of those things that I'm going to cook for a while just call for a different bay leaf. You probably wouldn't even notice, but a lot of times it just has a little bit of a more, I don't want to say bitter, but it might add a little touch, if you really notice, of bitterness to the dish. Again, it's very hard to discern.
Great.
All right. So we have all those things chopped. Right now I have our rice measured out, 2 cups of rice, we have 1 cup of white wine, 14 ounces of our diced canned tomatoes. And our chicken broth is here, and we have our saffron. So we're all set up, and that's called mise en place. So we want to get everything in its place. That's what that stands for. Mise en place in French is everything in its place, basically. And that's a cooking term, and you'll hear that a lot. And that just means let's make sure we're all set up and ready to go before we really start. So that means we have everything in its place, and we're not going to be scrambling when this recipe starts. So let's go. So we're going to turn on our burner.
The person who asked that question said, thanks, I thought maybe it was an East Coast, West Coast kind of thing.
No East Coast, West Coast battles here. So we have our chicken here, chicken thighs. Just gonna do a little salt and pepper. So just lightly salt and pepper both sides. You want to season and you want to build layers of flavor. So everything that you add, every time you add something, you want to be seasoning that layer. You want to be building those flavors, those layers of flavor as you build your dish, because it's just gonna keep deepening the flavor of everything and just concentrate it. And it just makes for a better dish. And I talk about this a lot. Carrie can tell you, but like, two people can have the same recipe, but one person can do it a different way, not season all the layers, all the different steps, and one person could, and you're going to have a much better or different flavor with, you know, the one that someone's following the proper technique. So we're going to start here with about a tablespoon of olive oil. And what we want to do here is we just want to, excuse me, we want to just get some color on this chicken. So what I've done is already, like I said, we salt and peppered it. I patted it dry with some paper towels. If you leave it wet, you're going to start steaming your chicken. You're not going to get that nice sear, that nice caramelization on the chicken. You're just going to kind of steam it up, and it's going to cook a little, but you're not going to get that kind of the crust to add some textures to the dish, which again, we're talking about all the technique and all the layers of flavor.
While you're doing that, someone wanted to know, they shouldn't use skin on for this, right? It's just going to end up floppy. You're not going to get that crispy.
Well, this dish isn't necessarily about the crispy skin. You can use whole chickens a lot because this is going to be buried back into the rice, and it's really going to cook for a long time. But yeah, that's why you want to do this. I'm getting some caramelization on this chicken, but if you have the skin on, that's also why you want to do this first. So with skin on chicken, you may know this already, you always want to start with a cold pan. If you throw hot skin on chicken, if you throw skin on chicken into a hot pan, what happens is the chicken hits that hot pan and it just shrivels up and shrinks. If you start in a cold pan, it gradually is going to keep its elasticity, it's going to keep that coverage of the meat, and it's going to slowly start to brown and crisp up beautifully. So that's why you start with a cold pan. Same thing with duck skin. So yeah, so right now, again, I'm just getting a little color on these. These won't take long. If you were using skin on chicken or bone-in chicken, you'd want to saute these for a little bit longer. I'm probably going to do couple minutes on each side. If you were doing the bone-in, you'd probably want to do like 5 to 7 minutes on each side. All right. So those guys are sauteing right now. Once those are done, what we're going to do, we're going to pull these out, as you see in the recipe, and we're going to use the vegetables to kind of get up all that good fond from the pan. Fond is like the good sticky stuff that sticks to the bottom of the pan from meat, from veggies. So you get some stuff in the pan, and by using either veggies or some sort of liquid, we're going to deglaze and kind of get that fond off. And again, that's going to go into the dish and add more depth of flavor.
Person that was the skin on chicken question says you did not know that. Thank you for starting in the cold pan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
People are loving your tips and tricks.
Yeah, good.
The other ones you share.
And also, this, you know, we're working on a hot plate here. It gets hot. It won't get as super hot as probably your ovens and your burners at home, your nice gas burners, your good electric burners. So I'm going to get as much color on this as I can it's getting there, some on there, but it's not going to be caramelized probably as hot as you will at home. So.
It already smells really good in the kitchen with chicken, salt, and pepper.
Yeah. Cloves of garlic. There's a lot of garlic, big cloves of garlic, huge cloves of garlic.
Is this a recipe that's easily customizable? Like if you love garlic, could you add
you can add more garlic. You could add different meat. If you don't like chicken, you want to do beef, you want to do some fish or shrimp or something, you could do that too. With the seafood, I don't want to get into it too much. You probably wouldn't want to cook it as long because it's going to get mushy and stuff. But beef, again, we just talked about duck. Other fowl would work. You could throw any meat in here. It's basically just a chicken and rice dish. And the thing about the chicken and rice dish that we're building now, it's not necessarily about the chicken that's in here. It's about building the flavor and developing like this beautiful like one pot meal that it's just really good. All right, so we got a little bit of color on here. It's enough to get started. So you see here, there's a little bit of caramelization on the chicken. Everybody can see that. So that's kind of what you want. That's going to give you a little bit of texture and some flavor. So start pulling this out, and we're going to pull this out and just let it rest. You can do it on a plate, on a sheet pan. So we'll do that right now. Again, this was not to cook the chicken. This was to get flavor in the pan, develop some texture on the chicken. All right, so next we're going to add our onion and pepper. So we'll just add that right to the pan. And again, we're going to be seasoning every layer. So right now we're going to add a little more salt and pepper. A little salt. A little pepper. And with the salt, take it easy. You can add a little bit, but like we're going to be using chicken stock out of the box here. If you're going to use a canned chicken stock, you're going to use bouillon or better than bouillon or something. It's going to be salty already, so you can always add salt at the end. If you're going to use your own chicken stock or an unsalted chicken stock, you could add more salt.
Someone's asking, I like to use boneless thighs. How much should I worry about trimming excess fat? A little sign here or there doesn't bother me, but should I take the larger bits off if there's more? That's
really a personal preference. I mean, some people love fat and aren't bothered by it. A lot of times it's going to cook down into the pan. It's going to crisp up nicely. So again, it's a personal preference. You can leave it on a lot. You can take it all off, So here, we're just sauteing this. We're getting some of this stuff off the pan. Try to see if you guys can see this at all. So the bottom of the pan, that stuff, that's called fond. So as we cook this, it'll start to scrape up from the bottom. Were you able to see that?
Yep, yeah, okay. You can see it. Someone said, bravo on the garlic chop. That was very skillfully done.
Well, thanks. Done it once or twice.
Yeah, did you want to talk a little bit about sort of your background and what you do here in Burlington?
Sure. So in Burlington, I cook class at the City Market, obviously. I also am a private chef on the side. So I do a lot of private dinners and things like that. We could give you my website at some point, I guess. All right, so we're getting there here. We're getting there on this. All right, so we'll let that cook up a little bit more. The next step, we're going to add the garlic. You don't add the garlic with this stuff, and I don't do that on most of my dishes. Like if I have mirepoix, which is like the carrot, onion, celery to start something, and then you're gonna add garlic later, like in chicken soup. I always do this first. Garlic cooks really quick. You're just trying to bring some flavor out of garlic and not burn it. When you burn it, it gets bitter. So I always add the garlic later just to develop, some of the flavor, get it aromatic. But not cook it too much, because again, it's going to cook in the chicken and rice. So we're going to add the garlic now. Let that go for 30 seconds to a minute till I can kind of start smelling it. This is what I kind of want. And I'm going to show you this again. See how that stuff's gone now. like a nice clean bottom of the pan. And all that stuff went in here and just added flavor to our dish.
Someone had the question, when cooking chicken on a grill, should we also be aware of that skin? For instance, you said the pan should be hot when you use skinless chicken. What about the grill?
Well, the grill, it's a little bit different on the grill, especially when you're doing like barbecue chicken or that type of thing. But yeah, generally you'd want to have your cold area and your hot area, and you don't want to go right to your hot area with that skin. The other thing with grilling chicken is, yeah, not to get too deep in the weeds, you definitely probably want to have a hot zone and a cold zone or a cooler zone in your grill, because if you try to cook everything, I'm sure you've experienced this before, on that hot spot right over the coals, it's just burning the outside of the chicken and the middle is going to be raw. What I like to do a lot of times is start it in the oven and get it cooked almost all the way, and then just finish it on the grill and get that flavor. So I'll get my chicken up to like 110, 120, and then go to the grill and finish it. And if you're not going to do that, have your cool zones where you could sear it and then move it to your cool zone to finish cooking, or vice versa.
We had someone ask the California bay leaf question again. I don't know if you want to wait until you add that, but if you could give that quick rundown. I think they missed it earlier.
Yeah. It's just a little bit of a different flavor in bay leaf. Sometimes it'll add a different, it's a hard to discern flavor, but it could add just a touch of bitterness at the very depth of it. So that's kind of really what the long and short of it is, as far as that. And generally, a lot of these European recipes or these Spanish stews or things, they'll call for, that type of bay leaf, and not the California ones.
The ones that you're buying in the grocery store, are they not like the regular ones, the bay leaf, if that's the
I now have to look at the bottle. Again, it's really hard to discern. So it's in there, but I wouldn't take it as the gospel. It's not gonna be like, hey, are there California bay leaves in this one? You know what I mean? So.
Right. Someone else wants to know, what's the weirdest dinner request you've ever had?
Weirdest dinner request? Oh boy, let's see. I'll have to think about that for a second. I've had some I wouldn't say they're weird, because I eat a lot of different stuff too, but it's like dealing with many different dietary things at the same dinner. So some people want, some people, want like an arroz con pollo or steak or, some of those dishes, like a crawfish etouffee empanadas or some things like that. And then you got the one person that's like, can I have a gluten-free, or I'm a vegetarian, so can you make me a butternut squash risotto or something like that? So we just try to accommodate. All right, so we added the garlic. Now we're going to add our paprika. I like to use some smoked paprika in this one, or Spanish paprika. And we're going to add 2 teaspoons of that. We're going to add this now. We're going to toast it a little bit with the rice. So we had 2 of those, and the rice. Right here, and we're going to toast the rice, and that's going to add, again, a little bit of flavor to the rice. And we're going to get that paprika all coated around on the rice as well. So that adds, the toasting of the rice adds a little slight nuttiness flavor to the rice. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Once that's kind of toasted, and start to smell it, which I do now, we're going to go ahead and add the wine. So 1 cup of wine, just measured it out. And I'm using white wine. I think we're using a Pinot Grigio today. Any nice little kind of drier white wine is going to work for you. So Pinot Grigio, Chardonnay would work.
For people that have sensitivities, does the alcohol cook off in this recipe?
Yeah, for the most part, alcohol's going to cook off. I mean, there is going to be some in here, but we're only using 1 cup. So if you're very sensitive, you may want to look at some cooking wine, or leaving it out altogether. It wouldn't. Again, you'll notice it a little bit, but it's still going to be delicious without the wine. You would just compensate that liquid by adding more chicken stock. So add a cup more chicken stock and cut out the wine.
And someone wanted to know, when you added the paprika and the rice, was there much liquid in the pot, or was it pretty dry?
There was no liquid before that. The only thing we had in there, if you remember, was the olive oil, And then we sauteed the peppers and onions, and then we added the garlic, let that go. Then we added the paprika and the rice, toasted that up, and then we added the chicken stock. I mean, the wine. Now we're letting the wine, it's just gonna kind of boil a little bit, a couple minutes, until get some flavor. It's not really gonna cook off completely. It is gonna reduce, and it's gonna get into the rice. So as you can see what's going on in there now. It's not very liquidy. So, smells good though.
Oh, it smells awesome in here. I wish everybody could be here and smell it.
Okay, so once that comes kind of back up to a boil, we're gonna start adding some of the other stuff. We're gonna add the tomatoes, the chicken broth, and the saffron, and the bay leaves. So as you see, like all the liquid is basically compensating to cook the rice too. So if you really look at it, 2 cups of rice, you got 2 cups of stock, basically a cup of canned tomatoes and a cup of rice. So that's your 2 to 1 ratio of rice to liquid.
So the person said, so the onions and peppers didn't sweat enough liquid to matter. No, they pretty much just cooked enough to loosen that fond from the bottom, and that was it. It wasn't really liquid in there at all.
Right, and then that liquid also, when it does hit the bottom, gets that fond off, that's also steaming and evaporating too. So there's not, it was 1 onion and 1 pepper, there's not a ton of liquid that's gonna come out of that. And again, we add that rice in, you're gonna start absorbing everything. And again, that's just concentrating these flavors. All right, so now that that's coming back up, we're gonna go ahead and add our tomatoes, the saffron. The saffron, I don't know how much you guys have worked with it, but it's great. It's so beautiful. It's such a nice flavor. It adds color, and I guess the best way to describe it is kind of like a floral earthiness to everything. So it's kind of, you know, aromatic from the flour, obviously, but then it's a slight earthiness too. So it's a really nice flavor. And then we're going to go ahead and add 1 1/4 cup, 2 1/4 cups, excuse me, of our chicken stock. Okay. 2 1/4 cup of chicken stock. Saffron in there. Put a bay leaf in there. Put a little more salt and pepper in. Not too much because, again, we just added that chicken stock. We're going to bring this back up to a boil. What we also do now at this point is take this chicken and we kind of just nestle it back down in to these veggies, to this rice mixture.
Someone wanted to know if you did anything to the saffron before you dumped it in, like mince it, or are you just dumping it in whole?
No, I'm dumping it in whole. A lot of times what's going to happen with the saffron is it kind of disintegrates into the dish and the flavor comes out. They almost melt the strands, you know? You might see a little small strand in there. You're going to put all these juices back in there too. You see a little like small strand maybe in there, but it's really not enough to get the flavor of it or overpower any bite that you have. Most of that's going to get melted down and just kind of go into the dish and season your dish.
Someone else has another question about saffron.
Yeah.
Saffron's bringing up a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I saw online there are 2 kinds of saffron, Spanish Superior and Spanish Coupe. Which one should we be using?
You know, that is a good question. I'm really not too familiar with that. I have just generally bought stuff at the store and looked for good quality saffron. I haven't really got into differences of types of saffron. Sorry.
We were actually talking about it earlier. There's actually a movement to grow saffron in Vermont. So
Yeah.
At some point, maybe you'll be using Vermont saffron instead of Spanish, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting plant, and they're working on how they can commercialize it here in Vermont. So.
Yeah, we were just talking about that before, as Carrie said. So it should be interesting. You know, I don't know how they're gonna roll that out or how they'll sell it or when, but it could be cool to have some local saffron outside of the Middle East or Africa.
Someone wanted to know, do you have any preference for coarse versus fine salt, iodized or non-iodized?
I personally use kosher salt mostly. I don't use any iodized salt. I don't like the flavor. The iodized salt's a lot saltier. This isn't iodized. So like you buy the Morton's like iodized salt, it's gonna be a lot saltier. If you do use iodized salt, compared to kosher, you probably want to use like 2/3 of whatever the recipe calls for, because it is a lot saltier. All right, so we're going to bring this up to a boil, and then we're going to cover this and just turn the heat down just like we're cooking rice for about 15 minutes. That's about boiling. We'll go ahead and just... So 15 minutes here.
I can set a timer for you.
All right, what do you guys want to talk about? No, I'm kidding. We're going to make actually a nice little fresh salad to go with this, this dish. So we're going to make a little baby tomato salad. It's just a bright little fresh salad to complement the deep, comforting, these heavier kind of chicken and rice dish. So it's a really nice pairing. Quick, easy to whip up too. All right. So these nice little local baby tomatoes from Lady Moon Farm. I like to use these multicolored ones. It adds, a cool look to the salad. And so I just take these and kind of split them down the middle. Don't worry, I rinsed the whole thing before. So split these right down the middle. You can quarter some of them, like you want to take just for a little bit different ways. Just chopping these up. So cut this one that way. Yeah, so just break these all down. So again, a little fresh tomato and caper salad that's going to complement this really well. So for knife skills, I don't know. I'm going to show you guys a couple little knife tricks. I don't know how much you do want to know this or have learned this before, but when you hold a knife, number one is you want to choke up on the knife a little and hold it like this. I don't want to say like a pencil, but you want your thumb on one side, your finger on the other side. It's going to give you a lot of control of the knife. See a lot of people that hold it like this and you just don't have control. You want to hold the knife right here. That's number one. Number two, you want these fingertips behind your first knuckle. That way, you're never going to cut it. So you're always going to be on that knuckle. And these are behind you. And the third thing is you want your thumb behind these fingers. So for example, when we do it, we have this here and splitting it down that way. So I'm not going to cut anything, or myself mainly. I can look at you, keep my fingers behind my thumb, and I know I'm not going to cut it. Not that we want to do that all the time, but that's the safety part of it. So that will keep you from cutting your fingertips. So that's number one. So we'll finish these. So that just is a good little safety trick and tip for some knife skills. And the more you do it, the less awkward it feels. When you first start doing it, it does feel a little awkward. I'm not going to lie. I've had a lot of people, it's hard for me. I can't get used to it. But, the more you do it, the safer it is, the better control you're going to have with your knife. All right. There's the tomatoes. Let me go ahead and take a red onion again. You see that they took the top off and the nub off here. Then I'm going to split right down this nub. For this recipe, I don't need all of this. This is a lot of onion. So I'm probably just going to, again, take off this little first layer. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep my fingers behind and slice like that. You see how I'm doing that? So again, you have no danger of cutting my fingers. All right, so that's probably good for this little salad. And then we'll take these and we'll split these down the middle and kind of quarter them. Throw those right in there. All right. Now we got some nice capers here. Take a little bit of these capers out. Capers add, you know, that it's a kind of a pickly flavor. It's nice with bright, fresh stuff. So you get the lemon with the caper and the onion. It's all going to balance really well.
I love capers. I put capers like the end of the food. Put capers in everything.
So let's take couple little tablespoons. You know, a little does go a long way. They do have a lot of flavor, and they can overpower if you do too much. So that's probably good. So there we go. Then we're going to take some fresh parsley here. So with parsley, you really just want to use the leaves. With with cilantro, you can use the stems. They have a lot of flavor. With parsley, you generally don't use the stems. And parsley this is flat leaf parsley, not curly parsley generally. For salads or things where you're going to eat parsley, usually flat leaf is a better eating parsley than the curly parsley. That's my opinion. All right, so we'll just take these stems off. Go ahead and just give them a rough chop, just because we do want to keep some of the leaf integrity in the salad. Take out some of these stems.
Yeah, the person that was asking about the East Coast, West Coast thing says that salad needs a nice California avocado.
It would be very good in there. So yeah, definitely, you can throw that on there. That's a good one. All right, so we got that. Nice parsley. And then we're just going to dress it lightly. We're going to take a little salt and pepper.
Got about 8 minutes.
Yep. We're out here. Turn this down just a little bit. Look at it there. You don't really need to open yours up. This burner is smaller, so I want to make sure that we're cooking evenly and cooking all the rice. So generally yours should be fine. You want to open it up and see, make sure it's like at the right bubblage level, not boiling too hard. It's simmering, then sure, you can go ahead and do that. All right, so again, we got our salt in there. We'll put a little pepper. We'll just take a little bit of olive oil. And we'll take some fresh lemon juice. I'm going to grab a fork really quickly. Sorry. So this is one of the best ways to get lemon juice out. Just take a fork and just twist it in, called forking a lemon. I remember watching, I think, Emeril Lagasse when I was little, and he always just like fork lemons, and it does work. So just go ahead and get some lemon juice out of there. Careful of seeds. This one didn't really have many. So that's that. Go ahead and toss the salad up. And that's it. Now, like my man said there about the East Coast, West Coast, you want to add an avocado, no problem. You want to add, lettuce to this, you want to add other veggies, no problem. This is just a nice, again, little fresh, easy, quick salad that's going to pair really well with that depth of flavor from this. So that's a quick little easy weeknight or any day salad. Any questions about that?
None coming in so far.
All right, cool.
What other kinds of things would you serve with Arroz Con Pollo? Like, it's such a great one pot, it's got the starch and it's got the meat, but what other things might you have?
A nice veggie side dish is always good. So, some sauteed green beans, any type of salad is always going to be good. Some wilted greens, some cooked kale, things like that. That's what I do with it. When I serve it at home, I'll eat usually a salad or some veggies with it or something like that. Because again, you do have the starch and you got the beef, the meat already. So that's generally what I'll do is some nice veg or a salad.
What are some of your other favorite things to cook for you and your family when you're home?
Well, we just did beef bourguignon actually for the Christmas holiday, I believe we did, yeah, beef bourguignon. So that was a fun one. My wife loves that. That's like one of her favorites. We did, I think we did chicken and dumplings, I think, for Thanksgiving. We did turkey and dumplings for Thanksgiving. It was a chicken and dumplings recipe. So, you know, those are always staple ones. I do like to cook nice steak dinners. You know, if I'm really ambitious, and I have like all day to spend doing something, you know, you could always do like a beef Wellington or something. I've done a few times. It's just a fun, big project. But me, I like to experiment. I like to try things I've never tried before. I do like to bake too, but I always tend to go to these like comforting like beef bourguignon dishes when I'm ready to throw down one because they're always a hit.
Somebody had the question, I don't know if you'll have an answer. Why are Florida avocados so huge?
I'm not sure why.
I'm guessing they're different.
I think it's a different type of avocado. I know there's the Hass avocado and then like the Mexican avocados, and I don't know which one that is. One of them's the big with the green, kind of smoother skin. And I forget that's like the Mexican one. But then the Hass avocados are the ones that you see generally that are like really textured. So.
We have a few minutes left on the Arroz Con Pollo timer, so now's a great time for people to put any other questions you have for Chef Jason in the chat box or in the question and answer box, or if you just want to let me know something, I'll feed it out there. But this is going great so far. You guys are coming up with really awesome questions. And like I mentioned in the question and answer box too, I'd love to know where people are watching from. So if you haven't already and you feel comfortable sharing, I'd love to know sort of how many different people and how many different locations we're reaching with these classes. So you can go ahead and put that in the question and answer too. It's been really interesting so far. Thanks.
Yeah, so guys, we have a little bit of time left on the rice. And then this is the last piece of the dish. It's just some green peas that we're gonna fold in at the end once the rice is done. And then we just gonna let these cook for a little bit and steam and cook through. And then that's how we finish the dish. Yeah, it's just a really easy, good one pot thing that, you know, people think, wow, it tastes like you've spent all day on that thing.
So far we've had California, Burlington, Winooski, Las Vegas, Texas. This is great. I love this.
People are watching from there, huh?
Chicago.
Awesome.
Colchester. Great. I love it. It's like the whole United States
That's
in
it.
Burlington. Great.
All right. In there. So we're going to take a little bit of this parsley again and get it ready for garnishing at the end. Again, I'll admit it, at home I do try to garnish stuff sometimes, and a lot of times I'm doing something nice. It makes you feel better. For me, like you put it on the plate, it's garnished, it just looks beautiful. You're like, wow, doesn't quite feel like home. It's nice. So it's I always try to do that. So I'm just going to take again some of this flat leaf, and we're going to roughly chop it, and we'll just finish the plated dish with a little bit of fresh parsley. And you can garnish with, you know, other things. You could do scallion if you wanted. You could do some other herb. This one is a little bit, it's got the freshness. So, you know, the parsley does complement this dish a little better. But, you know, if you were making, you know, some sort of taco dish or something, maybe the scallion would work. Obviously, potatoes and things like chopping up some chives look really nice. Cilantro is always great to garnish with. So it's just fun. It does add another layer of flavor to your dish. It's not always just for the look of it, even though it does, you know, add the look at the end to a finished dish. Not always just for the look. That's kind of also, it's kind of gone away nowadays, like just for the look. A lot of times, especially the nicer restaurants, like they want you to eat the garnish. It's supposed to be part of the dish. It is supposed to complement it, whether it starts the dish, is incorporated in the dish, or finishes the dish. It's a lot of times part of it. All right, let's see how we're doing here. Close here, a couple more minutes, and I think we're good.
Someone wants to know if you have a website.
I do.
You want to share that with people? I can also send it in the survey link tomorrow when I send that out, but if you want to talk about it.
Yeah. So my website is chefjg.com. And that's it. And that's my personal chef website. J is in Jason, G is in Gelrud. First and last initial.
Someone had the same question I think we chatted about earlier. For the Mexican version of Arroz Con Pollo, do you just have cumin for the saffron?
Generally, yeah, that's the main difference. You know, they're generally going to be the rice and some sort of meat and the aromatics of like onion and pepper and that type of stuff. And then, yeah, generally the cumin that seasons and colors it, where sometimes they'll use annatto too, but usually it's the cumin that colors it, where the Spanish one is getting colored and flavored a lot by the saffron. So the Spanish one generally is going to be a darker, like deeper yellow color, like more of a reddish yellow.
Someone wants to know where you got your cooking education.
Well, my dad owned a deli when I was growing up. That was where I kind of started. In middle school, like, you know, cooking breakfast there on the weekends, and really liked it. And then after college, in college took some culinary stuff, but after college, I cooked a little bit and worked in restaurants, and then I got out of this industry for a while, but still always cooked. I worked in the hospitality industry, but more on the travel side. I still always cooked and played and took classes and did stuff. So I took classes at like the Institute of Culinary Education in New York and did some other things. And then what brought me actually up to Vermont was I'm one of the owners of Nectar's as well, downtown. So that really got me back into doing a lot of cooking. And then from there, just kind of expanded out into doing a lot of the private chef stuff and getting more into the food world outside of the bar music venue world. All right, so this is almost ready to finish with the peas.
So I've got another question, but it's kind of for everybody else watching. Someone wants to know, how did folks from California and other far-flung places hear about this class? And I'm interested as well. So if you're not a Vermont City Market local, I'm really curious to know how you found our class. First of all, thank you so much for joining, but my curiosity is piqued. I'd love to know.
Yeah, we all want to know how you found out. All right.
It smells so good.
I'm just pull this off. It's almost done. This liquid's basically gone. If you guys can see, you want to let it go a little bit more. See how deep and rich and red this is, and yellowy with the saffron. So you get to that point, this rice needs to cook just a touch more. But while it's doing that, what we can do is go ahead and finish the peas in there too. So go ahead and dump our peas in. I cut the burner off. Stir these in.
Everybody's saying Eventbrite. Apparently, it's a lot of people who have like Eventbrite food turned on, and it's advertising to a lot of people that are interested in food and cooking classes.
Oh, cool.
That's awesome. Great to know. Thank you. Someone wants to know, how would you serve this?
Well,
Group. And we're gonna do some separate plates, but we're gonna serve on a platter.
Yeah, if it was a group, I would either put it in the middle of the table and let people serve, or set it up somewhere where it's like buffet style and people can go grab it and then take it to the table or something. Because it is kind of like a paella style dish, you know, it's got the saffron, it's got the rice, you're serving it very similarly.
Great.
Yeah, so we're just letting this sit now, a couple minutes. So while I'm finishing that up, are there any other questions about the recipes?
Yeah, any other food questions at this point? I'm really appreciating the sharing about where you're from, but does anybody have any other questions for Chef Jason? We leave plenty of time with these classes for questions, so we'd love to chat about this recipe, other recipes. I have one.
Sure.
What drinks would you serve with this? Does this go well with a wine or a beer or cider?
Sangria is always good, yeah, wine. You know, a good, nice, again, it's a Spanish dish, so a nice Rioja is going to be good. That's a nice red wine, an Albarino or something that's a white wine. Yeah, those are going to be really good with this dish. A nice crisp cerveza is good too, you know?
Someone wants to know if once we're all set, we can kind of see a nice pot view as well.
Oh, yeah.
Really close up to the camera.
Absolutely, no problem. I'm actually going to plate a nice plate up for you guys too, so you can see that.
Yeah.
This is almost done. Actually, while this is finished, I'll just grab a nice plate so we can get that ready for you.
For those of you that are interested too, Chef Jason has done a biscuits and gravy video that is up on our website already from last month. So if you go to City Market's webpage and look at the Learn tab, there's a classes page, and you can click and see all of our recorded classes, and you can watch them make delicious biscuits and sausage gravy.
Yeah, it was fun. We did biscuits from scratch, we made sausage from scratch, and then we put the whole thing together into the classic, you know, sausage, biscuits, and gravy breakfast. The only thing we didn't do is cook an egg and crack it over there and the yolk and everything, but we did everything else.
It was so good.
It was good.
Someone wants to know what other proteins this recipe would work with, and if you have any changes, like you mentioned the seafood thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going to do seafood, I wouldn't cook it like I did before. I wouldn't bury, like let's say we're going to do shrimp, right? I would like saute the shrimp a little bit, put them to the side, and I wouldn't bury the shrimp in before I cook the rice. Like I would bury them in right when kind of I put the peas in, because the shrimp aren't going to take that long to cook, and you're just kind of finishing them. If you're going to do like, you can make a play on paella, you're going to throw some mussels in there, you can put those in right away and let those steam and open. You could use, we talked before, duck, you could use beef if you wanted. So yeah, you could play with this and add any kind of protein that you think would work. And if it doesn't work, try something else the next time.
Lots of questions coming in for you. Someone said, one thing I found helpful and hope to do is clean up along the way like you do. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Definitely not leaving it all for yourself at the end is great.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know, can I add chicken legs with the thighs?
Oh yeah, well, so sometimes like there are recipes out there for arroz con pollo, and you can find them online that call for a whole chicken. So you would basically break the whole chicken down, sear it like I did with the skin, get the color on it, and then bury the whole chicken back in and kind of cook that whole thing. And again, if you were going to do that, I think I mentioned it earlier, you would want to saute the chicken for a little longer, because with the bone, it's just going to take a little longer to cook. So as opposed to searing it for 2 or 3 minutes or whatever, you're going to do it for like, 5 or 7 minutes almost on each side.
Great. Someone wants to know, my mother, Colombian, always told me never open a pot of rice while it's cooking, which can result in too much or too little liquid at the end. I notice you're checking your pot a lot. Any advice?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that at home. Like I was saying, this burner is smaller than this pot, and I'm really trying to just make sure my rice is cooking evenly. So again, I'm just monitoring the liquid and making sure that we're not cooking it too hard and it's cooking evenly. But yeah, at home, I generally would not open my rice until the end. I just, you want to make sure that you have the right heat level on it. If it's too hot, you're obviously going to burn the rice, or it's not going to cook all the way before the liquid's cooked out. So it's also about maintaining that nice simmer.
Great.
All right, so this is ready.
Awesome. Time for one more question?
Oh, absolutely.
Someone says, I made a slightly different version of this the other day, and it seems like there was too much liquid for the rice to fully absorb, even after the rice was already soft. If there's anything you can do in that scenario, or are you doomed to have soup?
If you start to notice it, you could take like something like this and try to get some liquid out of there, just to help it along. But yeah, at that point, you're going to keep cooking it and your rice is just going to keep absorbing it. It's just going to be mushy rice and almost like rice pudding, or you're going to kind of have a rice stew type of thing.
Someone says, my buddy from Cuba always shredded the chicken before serving. Does the Spanish version not shred the chicken?
The recipes that I've seen, you just bury the chicken back in. You're kind of serving it like paella. So when you pull it out, you're pulling like a whole piece of chicken with the rice and stuff. There are recipes out there, again, that shred it. I've seen it other ways too. But this way, because we're burying it back in and cooking it, it's just, you're not going to dry it out either. You shred it and put it back in, you probably overcook it. I don't know how that technique worked with that recipe. Maybe it wasn't cooked as long or something. But yeah, I'm sure it was delicious. It's just this way. I've always seen burying the whole pieces back in, whether they're boneless, skinless like this, or whole chicken pieces.
And someone wants to know what brand of knife you're using. I know you're using one of ours, but do you have a preference for knife brands?
I have the Shun. I have two Shuns. That's what I generally use. Yeah. So that's my personal chef knife is a Shun. It's an 8-inch Shun chef knife. I have a hollow handle one and a solid handle one. So those are the two.
I'm not sure what brand that is.
This one is Chicago Cutlery.
Yep, and then we also have a couple blue stops as well. But yeah, definitely take it from the expert on knife brands.
But people have their own opinions. I think it's just with anything. You find something you like that works for you, like that's fine. It's like drinking wine. Like just because someone says like this expensive bottle of wine's great, like I find one that's I like at the store too, so I'm gonna buy that one. Like it's whatever you like, whatever's preference. If it works for you and the recipes come out fine and you're comfortable with it, there's no need to spend $150 on a knife if you don't want to.
Yeah, and if you're local to Burlington, Kiss the Cook on Church Street has a really great knife guy who will work with you on figuring out which one feels good to you. So stop in there when you have time.
They do. They really do. They got a nice display case if you haven't been in there, and they'll let you check them all out. Yeah. It's really nice. Those guys are nice guys. All right, so we're ready to go here. I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to give you that close-up of the pot.
Someone also said, when should we come over and eat? And I said, I wish we could. I wish we could all be here and share this.
Me too. That was so much fun because we'll have a little, sit down, all talk and have it. We'll get back there though. All right. Is that a good shot? Can you see that?
Yep.
Everybody happy?
Nice yellow color. There's green peas in there. Yeah, that looks great. So that's what it looks like in the pot.
And you see there's not a lot of liquid. No real liquid at the bottom. The rice looks nice and puffed up and cooked. But you still have some nice, liquid in there. It's still wet. It's not dry or burned. And we want to do this. Whoop. Go ahead and take that guy out. Discard your bay leaf. Okay, so we'll plate one of these guys up. Let's get a different spoon for that.
All right. People are saying that looks great.
All right, we're about to plate it up here. So you can see, like I was talking about, most of that color went into the rice. But if you see there, it's like a little piece of saffron, right? and that's going to be really delicious. But that's really all you're going to be left with. Most of it went in there. Were you able to see that?
Sort of.
Let me see if I can hear better.
There we go.
Right there's a piece of saffron. So that's all you'll be left. You'll find like a piece, 1 or 2 pieces in there.
And it really does have that great, like, earthy, floral note if you do find a whole piece.
Oh, yeah.
Overpowering, it's great.
We'll do this. Couple pieces of chicken on top like that. Garnish it there with a little bit of fresh parsley. Take some of this fresh salad.
Yum.
There we go. Arroz con pollo with baby tomato, fresh onion salad.
Awesome. That looks so good. Everyone's saying it looks great. It looks fabulous.
Awesome.
Yes, I wish you could be here and share this with us, but it's been great to have sort of the community virtually as well. So I will leave the event up for just a few minutes. If there's any last minute questions that people want to post in that question and answer box that I can tell Chef Jason. And then otherwise, we do have some more upcoming classes. They're on our calendar page. So it's citymarket.coop/calendar. And we'd love to have you at some of our future live streams.
You have another one coming up February 8th, is it?
Sometime around, yep, we haven't quite posted February yet, so February is gonna get posted soon. But yeah, Chef Jason will be doing another class with us in February, so you can definitely check that out. And there's tons of great options the rest of this month as well, so definitely check that out. We'd love to have you. Kathy says, I've been watching a lot of cooking demos over the pandemic, and Chef Jason is by far one of the best I've seen.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate that. That makes me feel good because I'm always like, am I doing a good job? People hear what I'm saying? Okay, so thank you so much.
Yep, so I will leave that up for just another minute or two, but otherwise, thank you all so much for coming, and be safe, be well, and Happy New Year. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year.
So in a lot of Mexican dishes I brown the rice. Is there a difference in Spanish rice dish? So yeah, we did that sort of
We did kind of toast it. So you did it for about a minute or so. We're not really browning it. We're not getting a lot of color on it, but we are kind of waking it up and adding a little nuttiness to it and getting the oil coated on there and the spices really on the rice, but we're not really adding color to it. But I have seen dishes that do that, yeah.
Great. There's a lot of other people saying, thank you, looks delicious, definitely gonna try it. Yeah, if you do try this, I would love to get a picture. You can send me an email. Everybody's got my email. I'd love to hear how it went. Get some pictures of how it all went for everybody if you tried it. All right, thank you, everybody. I am gonna go ahead and close the event, but we really appreciate you coming, and
Thank you.
It's been great. Thank you so much.